In the depths of winter, when frost covers the earth and darkness stretches across the northern horizon, ancient voices whisper of lands that once existed beyond the edge of the known world. Places where the sun never set, where golden cities rose from crystalline shores, and where civilizations flourished in harmony with forces we can barely comprehend. These are not mere fantasies spun by poets around flickering fires. They are memories preserved in stone, encoded in myth, and scattered across the archaeological record like fragments of a shattered mirror. Tonight, we embark on a journey to two of history's most enigmatic lost continents: Hyperborea, the legendary realm beyond the North Wind, and Mu, the Pacific motherland that supposedly vanished beneath the waves. For centuries, scholars have dismissed these places as pure imagination, convenient fictions created to fill the blank spaces on ancient maps. But what if they were wrong? What if buried within these stories lies evidence of civilizations so old, so advanced, that their very existence challenges everything we think we know about human history? The trail begins not in dusty libraries or university halls, but in the fragments themselves. Stone tablets covered in symbols no linguist can fully decipher. Monuments aligned with mathematical precision to stars that haven't held those positions for thousands of years. Flood myths that echo across every continent, all describing the same cataclysmic event. These are not coincidences. They are breadcrumbs left by cultures that understood something fundamental about our planet's cycles of creation and destruction. What emerges from this evidence is not the story of primitive people struggling against nature, but of sophisticated civilizations that mapped the heavens, predicted celestial events, and built with a precision that rivals modern engineering. They left their knowledge encoded in geometry and astronomy, preserved in the only language that could survive the collapse of empires and the passage of millennia: the language of stone itself. To the ancient Greeks, Hyperborea was more than a distant land. It was the answer to a cosmic puzzle. When winter descended and Apollo, the god of light, disappeared from their temples, where did he go? The answer came in whispered legends of a realm beyond Boreas, the fierce north wind, where eternal spring reigned and the sun traced endless circles above the horizon. This was not fantasy, but observation, a description so precise that it perfectly matches the behavior of the midnight sun in Arctic regions during summer months. The earliest accounts come from Herodotus, who recorded these stories with the careful skepticism of a historian. He wrote of sacred offerings sent southward from this northern paradise, passed from tribe to tribe across thousands of kilometers until they reached the temples of Greece. The logistics alone suggest something real. No imaginary land generates trade routes spanning continents. No fictional people establish diplomatic relations with historical civilizations. Yet Herodotus also preserved details that seemed impossible to his Mediterranean audience. He described Hyperborea as a place where the sun never sets, where people live for centuries without disease or conflict, and where the landscape itself pulses with divine energy. To Greek minds accustomed to the harsh cycles of their own climate, such descriptions bordered on the mythical. But to anyone familiar with Arctic phenomena, they read like careful ethnographic reports. The poet Pindar went further, describing Hyperborean society with the precision of an anthropologist. He wrote of circular cities aligned with celestial movements, of temples constructed from materials that seemed to glow with inner light, and of a people who had achieved perfect harmony between their civilization and the natural world. These weren't random flights of poetic fancy. They followed consistent patterns that appear in sacred architecture across the ancient world. Later writers added layers of detail that make the accounts even more intriguing. Hecataeus of Abdera described Hyperborea as an island larger than Sicily, surrounded by ocean and blessed with a climate so mild that it produced 2 harvests each year. He mentioned a great circular temple aligned with the stars and spoke of priests who could predict celestial events with uncanny accuracy. The same geometric principles and astronomical knowledge appear in monuments from Stonehenge to the pyramids of Egypt. What makes these accounts remarkable is their consistency across different authors and centuries. The circular cities, the gentle, eternal light, the advanced understanding of celestial mechanics, the harmony between human society and natural forces. When independent sources separated by generations all describe the same specific details, historians take notice. Either they were copying from a common earlier source or they were describing something real. The question that haunted ancient scholars still haunts us today. How could Mediterranean writers who had never experienced high-latitude phenomena accurately describe the midnight sun? How could they know that beyond a certain northern latitude, the sun indeed remains above the horizon for weeks during summer? Their descriptions match modern observations of Arctic conditions with startling precision. Some historians suggest the knowledge came through indirect contact with northern traders who had witnessed these phenomena firsthand. Others propose that Greek astronomers reasoned their way to these conclusions through mathematical analysis. If the sun climbs higher the farther north one travels, then beyond a certain line it must never set. Whatever the explanation, the accuracy of their descriptions suggests access to information that shouldn't have existed in their time. Archaeological evidence adds another layer to the mystery. Amber from the Baltic region appears in Bronze Age Greek sites, proving trade connections with the far north existed much earlier than previously thought. The so-called Amber Route linked the Mediterranean with Scandinavia, creating a network of exchange that could have carried more than just precious stones. Knowledge, stories, and perhaps even people moved along these ancient highways. Recent excavations on the island of Delos have uncovered tombs that local tradition associates with Hyperborean pilgrims. These Bronze Age burials contain artifacts from across northern Europe, suggesting that the stories of sacred delegations traveling south from the legendary continent weren't entirely mythical. The graves date to a period when Mediterranean civilizations were supposedly isolated from northern cultures, yet the archaeological record tells a different story. Even more intriguing are the linguistic traces. Comparative analysis of ancient Greek, Sanskrit, and Northern European languages reveals shared vocabulary related to concepts of light, sacred geography, and celestial observation. Words that seem to derive from a common source describing phenomena specific to high-latitude regions. Language, like artifacts, travels along trade routes and preserves memories of cultural contact. The relationship between myth and astronomy grows stronger when we examine how Hyperborea was integrated into Greek religious practice. Apollo's winter journey to the northern realm paralleled the seasonal movement of the sun, turning natural into theological, astronomical cycles narrative. The festivals celebrating his return each spring weren't just religious ceremonies, but sophisticated calendrical systems that required precise observation of celestial events. This astronomical connection appears in monuments across the ancient world. Stone circles, temple complexes, and ceremonial sites consistently orient toward the same celestial reference points that Greek sources associated with Hyperborea. The pattern suggests not isolated cultural development, but transmission of knowledge from a common source. Modern satellite imaging has revealed another piece of the puzzle. The Arctic ocean floor shows submerged ridges and continental fragments that were above sea level during the last ice age. Vast areas that are now underwater were once dry land, supporting the ecosystems and potentially the civilizations described in ancient accounts. When global sea levels rose at the end of the Ice Age, these lands vanished beneath the waves, leaving only scattered islands and the memories preserved in myth. Geological evidence supports the possibility of temperate conditions in high northern latitudes during certain climatic periods. Ice core data from Greenland shows that Arctic temperatures fluctuated dramatically throughout prehistory, with some interglacial periods supporting vegetation and wildlife far beyond today's tree line. During these warmer phases, the legendary eternal spring of Hyperborea wouldn't have been mythical, but meteorological reality. The consistency of Hyperborean traditions across different cultures becomes even more significant when viewed against this environmental backdrop. If multiple civilizations preserve similar memories of a northern paradise lost to climatic change, they might not have been sharing fantasies but historical experiences. The flood myths and stories of golden ages destroyed by ice appear in cultures worldwide, suggesting shared memories of real events. What transforms these ancient accounts from curiosities into potential historical documents is their integration with verifiable astronomical and geological data. The descriptions align too closely with real phenomena to be dismissed as pure imagination. Whether Hyperborea existed as a specific place or as a collective memory of favorable northern conditions during prehistoric warm periods, the traditions preserve information about our planet's climatic past that science is only beginning to understand. The evidence grows more compelling when we turn from the northern legends to examine the Pacific realm of Mu, a continent whose story emerged not from ancient texts, but from the controversial claims of a 20th century explorer. James Churchward spent decades insisting he had unlocked the secrets of humanity's true motherland, a vast civilization that once dominated the Pacific Ocean before vanishing in a single catastrophic night. His assertion sparked fierce debate that continues to this day, dividing scholars between those who see pseudoscience and those who wonder if fragments of truth might hide within his sensational claims. Churchward's journey into the mysteries of Mu began in colonial India, where he claimed a temple priest revealed ancient tablets written in a forgotten language. These clay records supposedly told the story of an advanced civilization that flourished 50,000 years ago across a continent stretching from Hawaii to Easter Island. According to his translations, this realm supported 64 million inhabitants, organized into 7 great cities, each more magnificent than anything in the known ancient world. The people of Mu had mastered sciences that modern humanity was only beginning to rediscover, from advanced astronomy to technologies that seem almost impossible for their era. The priest who allegedly taught Churchward to decipher these tablets described them as the oldest records of human civilization, written in what he called the original language of mankind. This Nakal script supposedly preserved not just the history of Mu, but the fundamental principles by which its society operated. The tablet spoke of a people who lived in perfect harmony with natural forces, who understood the deeper patterns governing earthly and celestial cycles, and who had achieved a level of scientific knowledge that wouldn't be matched again for millennia. What makes Churchward's account particularly intriguing is how it intersects with legitimate archaeological discoveries. The stone tablets found by geologist William Niven in Mexico contain symbols and patterns that seem to support elements of the Mu narrative. These artifacts, unearthed at sites across Mesoamerica, showed sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering principles. While mainstream archaeology attributed them to known pre-Columbian cultures, Churchward saw them as evidence of Mu's colonial influence spreading across the ancient world. The geographical scope that Churchward attributed to Mu defies conventional understanding of Pacific geology. He described a continent larger than South America, with mountain ranges, river systems, and diverse climatic zones, supporting everything from tropical agriculture to advanced urban centers. The landmass supposedly extended across 5,000 miles of ocean, connecting island chains that today seem scattered and isolated. If such a continent existed, its destruction would have reshaped the entire Pacific Basin and left geological evidence visible to modern science. Churchward's description of Mu's final catastrophe reads like a geological nightmare. According to his sources, the continent was undermined by vast underground chambers filled with volatile gases. When these caverns finally collapsed, they triggered earthquakes and volcanic eruptions that tore the land apart in a single night of destruction. The entire continent allegedly plunged into the ocean depths, taking with it one of humanity's most advanced civilizations and leaving only scattered survivors to carry fragmentary memories to distant shores. The racial theories embedded in Churchward's work reflect the problematic ideologies of his era, but beneath these distortions lie descriptions of technological achievements that deserve serious consideration. The people of Mu, supposedly built with materials that possess properties unknown to modern science, created transportation systems that moved goods and people across vast distances with remarkable efficiency, and developed communication methods that functioned without the mechanical devices we associate with advanced civilization. Their architecture incorporated principles of acoustics, resonance, and energy manipulation that enabled structures to withstand the seismic forces common in the Pacific region. More intriguing are the accounts of Mu's scientific accomplishments in astronomy and navigation. The civilization allegedly maintained detailed records of celestial movements spanning thousands of years, enabling them to predict cosmic events with extraordinary precision. Their navigators could traverse the Pacific using knowledge of star positions, ocean currents, and magnetic fields that wouldn't be formally understood until modern times. These capabilities would have been essential for maintaining a continent-spanning civilization across the world's largest ocean. The connection between Mu and the earlier scientific concept of Lemuria adds another dimension to the controversy. 19th century biologists proposed Lemuria as a land bridge to explain the distribution of fossils and species across the Indian Ocean. While plate tectonic theory eventually provided better explanations for these patterns, the original Lemuria hypothesis was based on solid scientific observation of biological and geological anomalies. When Churchward adapted this concept for his Pacific continent, he was building on legitimate scientific foundations, even if his conclusions ventured far beyond accepted evidence. Modern oceanographic research has revealed surprising complexity in Pacific geology that makes lost continent theories less impossible than they once seemed. Underwater surveys have discovered massive plateau regions, submerged mountain ranges, and continental fragments scattered across the ocean floor. Some of these features show evidence of having been above sea level during periods of lower global sea levels, particularly during ice ages when vast amounts of water were locked in glacial ice. The Ontong Java Plateau alone covers an area larger than Alaska and rises from abyssal depths to within a few thousand feet of the surface. Recent discoveries of microcontinents and sunken land masses have forced geologists to reconsider how much of Earth's surface has been reshaped by tectonic forces and sea level changes. Zealandia, now recognized as Earth's 8th continent despite being 94% submerged, demonstrates that vast continental areas can indeed vanish beneath the waves. The identification of Greater Adria, a continent-sized landmass that was consumed by subduction zones as it collided with Europe, shows that entire geological regions can be destroyed and recycled through Earth's internal processes. The timing of these geological discoveries coincides with advances in underwater archaeology that are revolutionizing our understanding of prehistoric human migration and settlement patterns. Submerged sites off the coasts of India, Japan, and the Americas have revealed evidence of sophisticated coastal civilizations that flourished when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower than today. These discoveries prove that significant portions of human prehistory lie buried beneath modern oceans, accessible only through advanced diving and remote sensing technologies. What emerges from this intersection of mythology, controversial historical claims, and legitimate scientific discovery is a picture of Earth's past far more dynamic and complex than traditional narratives suggest. The Pacific Ocean, rather than being an empty expanse separating distant continents, may have been home to land masses and civilizations whose traces now lie hidden beneath miles of water. The stories of Mu, whatever their ultimate origin, point toward possibilities that mainstream archaeology has only recently begun to explore seriously. The psychological appeal of lost continent narratives reflects deeper human needs to understand our origins and place in cosmic history. These stories satisfy our desire for meaning, for connection to something greater than our immediate experience, and for explanation of the sophisticated knowledge that appears in ancient monuments and texts without obvious sources. Whether Hyperborea and Mu existed as specific places or as collective memories of environmental and cultural changes, they represent humanity's attempt to preserve and transmit crucial information across the gaps in recorded history. The enduring power of these legends lies not in their literal truth, but in their capacity to inspire investigation and discovery. Each new archaeological find, each advance in underwater exploration, each revelation about Earth's geological past adds pieces to a puzzle whose complete picture remains tantalizingly out of reach. The search for lost continents continues to drive scientific research, technological innovation, and intellectual curiosity about the deeper patterns governing our planet's evolution and humanity's role within it. The convergence of myth and evidence becomes even more striking when we examine the archaeological record through the lens of catastrophic change. Across the Pacific, from Easter Island's mysterious Moai to the underwater structures off Yonaguni, we find traces of civilizations that seem to have flourished and vanished according to patterns that echo the legends of Mu. These aren't isolated anomalies, but part of a broader tapestry of human achievement that standard chronologies struggle to accommodate. On Easter Island, nearly 1,000 stone statues stand as silent witnesses to capabilities that shouldn't have existed in such a remote location. The precision of their carving, the sophistication of their placement, and the engineering required to move multi-ton blocks across the island all point to knowledge and organization far beyond what we'd expect from a small Polynesian settlement. Recent excavations have revealed that many of these statues extend deep underground, their bodies carved with intricate details that have been buried for centuries. The implications are staggering. Either these monuments were created when sea levels and soil conditions were dramatically different, or the people who built them possessed techniques for large-scale construction that we've yet to understand. Similar puzzles emerge throughout the Pacific island chains. On Pohnpei, the megalithic complex of Nan Madol consists of nearly 100 artificial islands connected by canals and built from massive basalt blocks. Local legends describe it as the creation of twin sorcerers who used flying dragons to transport the stones. But engineering analysis reveals construction techniques that challenge our assumptions about prehistoric Pacific cultures. The blocks fit together with precision rivaling classical masonry, yet they were supposedly assembled by people using only stone tools and human labor. The timing of these constructions adds another layer of mystery. Radiocarbon dating places some Pacific megalithic sites thousands of years earlier than the accepted chronology of Polynesian migration. If these dates are accurate, then advanced civilizations were building monumental architecture in the Pacific long before the ancestors of modern islanders supposedly arrived. Either our understanding of Pacific prehistory is fundamentally flawed, or these islands preserve traces of much older cultural traditions. Underwater archaeology has begun revealing the true extent of what lies hidden beneath Pacific waters. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni monument presents terrace structures, right-angle corners, and carved channels that appear artificial despite being submerged for thousands of years. Geologists debate whether these features resulted from natural erosion or human construction, but the patterns are unlike anything known from purely geological processes. If artificial, they represent monumental architecture created when sea levels were dramatically lower during the last ice age, when vast areas of the continental shelf were dry land. Similar submerged structures have been identified throughout the Pacific, from the Mariana Islands to the coasts of Peru. These underwater formations show evidence of quarrying, tool marks, and architectural planning that suggests coordinated construction projects on a massive scale. The technology required to map and excavate these sites has only recently become available, meaning we're just beginning to understand what lies preserved beneath the ocean surface. The distribution of these underwater sites follows patterns that align remarkably well with Churchward's descriptions of Mu's extent. Major concentrations of submerged structures appear along the very routes he claimed connected the continent's colonial outposts. While this correlation doesn't prove his specific claims, it suggests that the Pacific Basin once supported far more extensive human activity than conventional archaeology acknowledges. Advanced sonar mapping has revealed even more dramatic features hidden beneath Pacific waters. Vast plateau regions show evidence of river channels, valley systems, and erosion patterns consistent with subaerial exposure during periods of lower sea level. These features cover areas comparable to modern continents, yet they've been submerged for thousands of years. The geological processes that could create such extensive land masses and then cause them to sink involve forces of planetary scale. Exactly the kind of catastrophic events described in flood myths worldwide. Recent research into Pacific geology has uncovered evidence of massive volcanic events and tectonic instability throughout the region's prehistory. The ring of fire that surrounds the Pacific Basin represents one of Earth's most geologically active zones, capable of generating earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions of unprecedented magnitude. During certain periods of enhanced activity, entire island chains could have been destroyed or dramatically reshaped in relatively short time frames. The Toba supervolcanic eruption 74,000 years ago demonstrates the kind of catastrophic event that could have reshaped entire continents. This eruption, centered in what is now Indonesia, ejected enough material to affect global climate for years and may have brought human populations to the brink of extinction. Similar events occurring in the Pacific could easily have destroyed island continents and left only fragmentary traces of the civilizations they supported. Climate records preserved in ice cores and sediment layers reveal that Earth's environment has been far more unstable throughout prehistory than previously recognized. Rapid shifts between glacial and interglacial conditions repeatedly altered sea levels, coastlines, and weather patterns on timescales measured in centuries rather than millennia. During these transitions, entire ecosystems and the human cultures they supported could have appeared and vanished with startling rapidity. The Younger Dryas period, approximately 12,000 years ago, marked one of the most dramatic climate reversals in recent geological history. Within decades, global temperatures plummeted, ice sheets expanded, and sea levels dropped dramatically before equally rapidly returning to warmer conditions. Any advanced civilizations existing during this period would have faced environmental challenges that could have destroyed even the most sophisticated societies. Genetic studies of Pacific island populations reveal migration patterns and population bottlenecks that suggest repeated cycles of settlement, expansion, and collapse throughout the region's prehistory. DNA analysis indicates that modern islanders descend from multiple waves of colonization, some separated by thousands of years. These patterns could reflect the survival and dispersal of populations from larger land masses that were subsequently destroyed or submerged. The linguistic evidence presents equally intriguing patterns. Comparative analysis of Pacific languages reveals shared vocabulary and grammatical structures that suggest common origins in areas that are now underwater. Root words related to navigation, astronomy, and megalithic construction appear across island chains separated by thousands of miles of ocean, pointing to cultural connections that existing migration theories struggle to explain. The astronomical knowledge preserved in Pacific Island traditions demonstrates understanding of celestial mechanics that required generations of careful observation and record-keeping. Navigation techniques that enabled voyagers to traverse vast ocean distances using only star positions, wave patterns, and bird flight paths represent a level of scientific sophistication that rivals modern methods. This knowledge couldn't have developed in isolation on small islands, but suggests inheritance from cultures with access to larger land masses and more stable observation platforms. Traditional Pacific cosmologies consistently describe a time when the islands were connected by land bridges or were part of larger continental masses. These oral traditions, preserved across cultures that had limited historical contact, describe similar sequences of geological catastrophe followed by cultural dispersal. The consistency of these accounts across the Pacific suggests they may preserve authentic memories of real environmental changes rather than purely mythological narratives. Modern oceanographic research continues to reveal the dynamic nature of Pacific geology. Tectonic plate movements, volcanic activity, and sea level fluctuations have dramatically reshaped the basin throughout its history. Computer models of past configurations show that during certain periods, the Pacific contained far more land area than exists today, with island chains connected by extensive shallow seas and exposed continental shelves. The implications of these discoveries extend far beyond academic debates about lost continents. They suggest that human civilization has deeper roots and greater resilience than previously recognized. If advanced cultures did develop in the Pacific during prehistoric periods, their achievements in navigation, astronomy, and megalithic construction may have provided the foundation for later civilizations throughout the region. The search for Mu and similar lost lands continues to drive technological innovation in underwater exploration, remote sensing, and archaeological methodology. Each new discovery adds complexity to our understanding of human prehistory and demonstrates that vast portions of our species' story remain hidden beneath the waves. Whether these submerged lands ever supported the specific civilization described by Churchward may never be definitively proven, but the growing evidence for sophisticated Pacific cultures during prehistoric periods validates the core insight that our planet's human history extends far deeper into the past than conventional timelines suggest. The convergence of archaeological evidence and geological data creates a compelling framework for understanding how advanced Pacific civilizations might have developed and ultimately vanished. When we examine the distribution of megalithic sites across Oceania, patterns emerge that suggest coordinated construction projects spanning vast distances. The precision required to align monuments with celestial events, the standardization of building techniques across isolated islands, and the sophisticated mathematical principles embedded in these structures all point toward shared knowledge systems that transcended local cultural boundaries. Recent analysis of building materials used in Pacific megalithic sites reveals another layer of complexity. Petrographic studies show that many monuments were constructed using stones quarried from locations hundreds of miles away, transported across open ocean to their final destinations. The logistics of moving multi-ton blocks across such distances without modern technology suggests organizational capabilities and maritime expertise far exceeding what traditional models of Pacific settlement allow. These weren't random acts of construction, but elements of a coordinated architectural program that required centralized planning and resource management. The acoustic properties of Pacific megalithic sites add another dimension to their mystery. Sound analysis reveals that many of these structures were designed as resonant chambers, amplifying specific frequencies and creating complex harmonic effects. The precision required to achieve these acoustic properties demonstrates understanding of physics principles that wouldn't be formally recognized until modern times. When combined with their astronomical alignments, these monuments begin to resemble sophisticated instruments for observing and interacting with natural forces rather than simple ceremonial platforms. Comparative mythology across Pacific cultures preserves remarkably consistent accounts of the techniques used to construct these monuments. Stories describe the use of sound vibrations to levitate massive stones, the manipulation of magnetic forces to guide construction, and the harnessing of earth energies to power building projects. While mainstream archaeology dismisses these accounts as fantasy, they appear with such regularity across isolated cultures that they may preserve distorted memories of actual construction methods that we no longer understand. The mathematical principles encoded in Pacific megalithic architecture reveal knowledge that shouldn't have existed in the supposed time periods of their construction. Measurements taken at sites from Easter Island to Pohnpei show consistent use of advanced geometric ratios, precise astronomical calculations, and sophisticated understanding of structural engineering. The golden ratio appears repeatedly in monument proportions, while celestial alignments demonstrate awareness of precessional cycles that require thousands of years of careful observation to detect. Underwater surveys conducted with advanced sonar systems have revealed the true extent of submerged structures throughout the Pacific Basin. These formations display characteristics that distinguish them from natural geological features, including regular geometric patterns, evidence of quarrying and tool use, and architectural elements that appear designed for specific functions. The distribution of these sites follows clear patterns that suggest they were part of integrated networks rather than isolated constructions. The preservation of organic materials in underwater environments has enabled researchers to directly date some submerged Pacific sites using radiocarbon methods. Results consistently place these structures thousands of years earlier than the accepted chronology of Pacific settlement, creating temporal anomalies that challenge fundamental assumptions about human migration and technological development. Either these dates are systematically flawed, or Pacific civilizations achieved architectural sophistication far earlier than conventional theories suggest. Analysis of sediment cores taken from around submerged Pacific sites reveals environmental conditions that differ dramatically from today's ocean chemistry. During certain prehistoric periods, water levels and temperatures supported extensive shallow sea environments where complex ecosystems could have flourished. These conditions would have provided ideal settings for maritime civilizations that combine terrestrial agriculture with sophisticated ocean-based technologies. The role of volcanic activity in shaping Pacific prehistory becomes clearer as researchers map the distribution of ash layers and pyroclastic deposits throughout the basin. Major eruptions created temporary land bridges between islands, altered ocean currents, and deposited mineral-rich soils that could support intensive agriculture. These geological events may have enabled rapid cultural expansion during favorable periods, followed by equally rapid decline when volcanic activity destroyed the environmental foundations of these civilizations. Genetic analysis of Pacific marine life reveals population bottlenecks and distribution patterns that correlate with the timing of proposed continental submergence events. Species that require shallow water environments for reproduction show evidence of dramatic population crashes during periods when geological evidence suggests rapid sea level rise. These biological markers provide independent confirmation that major environmental changes occurred throughout Pacific prehistory, on timescales consistent with catastrophic geological events. The discovery of terraced agricultural systems now submerged beneath Pacific waters provides direct evidence of sophisticated land management practices that required stable terrestrial environments for their development. These underwater field systems show evidence of irrigation channels, soil amendment techniques, and crop rotation methods that represent generations of agricultural innovation. Their submergence indicates that productive land areas existed in regions now covered by deep ocean. Traditional navigation knowledge preserved among Pacific Island cultures demonstrates understanding of oceanographic principles that required extensive observation and experimentation to develop. Techniques for reading wave patterns, interpreting cloud formations, and using marine biology for position finding represent scientific achievements that could only have emerged from cultures with access to vast ocean areas and stable base locations for conducting systematic research. The astronomical component of Pacific traditional knowledge reveals observation capabilities that required sophisticated instruments and permanent observation sites for their development. The precision with which island navigators could predict celestial events, calculate seasonal changes, and maintain accurate calendars suggests inheritance from cultures with access to advanced observational technologies. These capabilities couldn't have developed aboard small sailing craft, but required stable platforms and specialized equipment. Recent discoveries of submerged cave systems throughout the Pacific have revealed evidence of human occupation during periods when these areas were above sea level. Artifacts recovered from these underwater sites include tools, pottery, and artwork that demonstrate sophisticated cultural development thousands of years before conventional Pacific chronologies begin. The preservation conditions in these submerged caves have maintained organic materials that provide direct evidence of advanced prehistoric Pacific cultures. The integration of geological, archaeological, and anthropological evidence creates a picture of Pacific prehistory far more complex and dynamic than traditional models suggest. Rather than empty ocean punctuated by small island settlements, the Pacific appears to have supported extensive land areas and sophisticated civilizations throughout much of human prehistory. The submergence of these lands and the dispersal of their populations may have provided the foundation for the remarkable maritime cultures that European explorers encountered throughout Oceania. The technological achievements attributed to lost Pacific civilizations find unexpected support in the engineering analysis of surviving monuments. Computer modeling of the structural forces involved in megalithic construction reveals that many Pacific sites employed building techniques that distribute seismic stress with remarkable efficiency. These anti-seismic design principles demonstrate understanding of geological processes and engineering solutions that wouldn't be formally developed until modern times. The acoustic properties built into Pacific megalithic sites suggest they functioned as components of larger communication networks spanning vast ocean distances. Sound analysis reveals that many monuments can generate infrasonic frequencies that travel through solid rock and ocean water far more efficiently than conventional sound waves. If these sites were designed as elements of a communication system, they represent a technology for long-distance information transmission that predates any known historical examples. The mathematical relationships between Pacific megalithic sites reveal a level of coordination that implies centralized planning and standardized construction methods. Distances between monuments often conform to specific ratios related to Earth's dimensions and astronomical cycles. These patterns suggest that Pacific Island monuments weren't isolated constructions, but components of an integrated system designed according to unified principles spanning the entire ocean basin. The preservation of advanced metallurgical knowledge in Pacific Island traditions provides another link to sophisticated prehistoric civilizations. Techniques for working copper, bronze, and other alloys appear in cultural traditions from islands that lack metal or deposits, suggesting inheritance from cultures with access to diverse mineral resources. The precision metalworking required to create some Pacific artifacts exceeds what should have been possible with the limited resources available on small islands. Evidence for prehistoric Pacific trade networks emerges from the distribution of materials and artifacts across vast ocean distances. Raw materials found in monuments and tools often originated thousands of miles from their final locations, indicating regular commerce between widely separated regions. The scale and consistency of these trade patterns suggest economic integration that required stable political systems and advanced maritime technologies to maintain. The astronomical knowledge embedded in Pacific megalithic architecture demonstrates observation capabilities that require generations of systematic data collection and analysis. The precision with which these monuments track celestial cycles, predict eclipses, and mark seasonal changes represent scientific achievements that equal or exceed those of recognized ancient civilizations. This knowledge couldn't have developed in isolation, but suggests inheritance from cultures with extensive astronomical research programs. The convergence of evidence from multiple disciplines creates an increasingly coherent picture of advanced Pacific civilizations that flourished during prehistoric periods before succumbing to geological catastrophes of planetary scale. Whether these cultures match the specific descriptions preserved in the legends of Mu may never be definitively established, but the growing body of evidence confirms that human civilization in the Pacific Basin has roots far deeper and achievements far greater than conventional historical narratives acknowledge. The implications of these discoveries extend beyond academic debates about lost continents to fundamental questions about the nature of human cultural development and the relationship between civilization and environmental change. The Pacific evidence suggests that advanced societies have emerged and vanished repeatedly throughout prehistory, leaving only fragmentary traces of their achievements scattered across the archaeological record. As underwater exploration technologies continue advancing and new sites are discovered beneath Pacific waters, the potential for revolutionary discoveries grows exponentially. Each new find adds pieces to a puzzle whose complete picture may reshape our understanding of human prehistory and demonstrate that the legends of lost continents preserve authentic memories of real civilizations whose achievements rivaled or exceeded those of any known historical culture. The search for these vanished worlds continues to drive innovation in marine archaeology, geological research, and anthropological investigation. Whether future discoveries will validate the specific claims about Hyperborea and Mu remains uncertain, but the evidence already accumulated proves that our planet's human story extends far deeper into the past than conventional timelines suggest, hidden beneath waters that rose to swallow entire continents and the civilizations they supported. The evidence for these vanished civilizations extends beyond physical monuments to the realm of human genetics, where molecular archaeology is revealing migration patterns that challenge every assumption about prehistoric Pacific settlement. DNA analysis of modern island populations shows genetic markers that point to multiple waves of colonization, spanning tens of thousands of years, far predating the accepted timeline of Polynesian expansion. These genetic signatures suggest that the ancestors of Pacific Islanders didn't originate from a single mainland source, but descended from diverse populations that had been established throughout the ocean basin for millennia. More intriguing are the genetic anomalies that appear consistently across widely separated island groups. Certain DNA sequences found in Pacific populations have no clear relationship to Asian or American lineages, suggesting they derive from source populations that no longer exist in their original locations. These orphan genetic markers could represent the last traces of continental populations that were dispersed when their homelands vanished beneath rising seas. Linguistic archaeology provides another window into this hidden past. The deepest layers of Pacific languages contain vocabulary that refers to geographical features, plants, and animals that don't exist on small islands, but would have been common on larger land masses. Root words for mountains, rivers, and continental ecosystems appear in languages spoken by people whose ancestors supposedly lived only on isolated atolls. This linguistic fossil record suggests that Pacific cultures preserve memories of environments their speakers haven't experienced for thousands of years. The astronomical traditions maintained by Pacific navigators reveal knowledge that required stable observation platforms and centuries of systematic record-keeping to develop. Island cultures possess detailed understanding of stellar positions, planetary movements, and celestial cycles that couldn't have been acquired through casual observation from moving vessels. The precision of this knowledge implies inheritance from cultures with access to permanent observatories and sophisticated instruments for measuring cosmic phenomena. Recent advances in underwater robotics have enabled exploration of Pacific depths previously beyond human reach. Remote-operated vehicles equipped with high-resolution cameras and sampling equipment have discovered artificial structures at depths where conventional diving is impossible. These deep water sites show evidence of construction techniques, tool marks, and architectural planning that distinguish them clearly from natural formations. Their extreme depth indicates submergence during periods when sea levels were hundreds of meters lower than today. The preservation conditions in deep Pacific waters have maintained organic materials that provide direct dating evidence for these submerged structures. Wood, rope, and textile fragments recovered from underwater sites consistently yield radiocarbon dates that place human activity in these locations thousands of years before conventional Pacific chronologies begin. Either these dates are systematically contaminated, or human civilizations were active throughout the Pacific Basin far earlier than mainstream archaeology acknowledges. Analysis of sediment cores taken from around submerged Pacific sites reveals environmental signatures that indicate dramatic ecological changes during prehistoric periods. Pollen records show that areas now covered by deep ocean once supported diverse terrestrial ecosystems, including forests, grasslands, and agricultural systems. The transition from terrestrial to marine environments occurred rapidly in geological terms, consistent with catastrophic sea level rise rather than gradual submergence. The discovery of massive underwater landslide deposits throughout the Pacific Basin provides evidence for the kind of geological instability that could have destroyed entire continents within short time periods. These submarine avalanches, some involving volumes of material exceeding entire mountain ranges, demonstrate that Pacific geology has been subject to catastrophic events capable of reshaping the ocean floor on continental scales. Volcanic ash layers preserved in Pacific sediments record eruptions of unprecedented magnitude that occurred during prehistoric periods. Some of these events ejected enough material to affect global climate patterns and would have been capable of destroying any civilizations within their impact zones. The timing of these mega eruptions correlates with genetic and cultural discontinuities in Pacific populations, suggesting that volcanic catastrophes played a major role in shaping the region's human history. The magnetic properties of Pacific seafloor sediments reveal evidence of geomagnetic reversals and magnetic anomalies that occurred during periods when advanced civilizations may have existed in the region. These magnetic disturbances could have disrupted navigation systems, communication networks, and any technologies dependent on magnetic fields. Cultures that had developed sophisticated understanding of terrestrial magnetism would have been particularly vulnerable to such disruptions. Tide gauge records from Pacific Islands show evidence of massive tsunami events that occurred during prehistoric periods, with wave heights far exceeding anything recorded in historical times. These mega tsunamis were capable of completely reshaping coastlines and would have been catastrophic for any maritime civilizations. The geological evidence for these events correlates with cultural discontinuities and population bottlenecks recorded in Pacific oral traditions. The integration of geological, archaeological, and anthropological evidence creates a picture of Pacific prehistory characterized by recurring cycles of cultural fluorescence and catastrophic destruction. Advanced civilizations appear to have developed during periods of geological stability only to be destroyed by volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, or rapid sea level changes. The survivors of these catastrophes carried fragments of their knowledge to safer regions, where it was preserved in modified form within island cultures. Traditional Pacific cosmologies describe these cycles of creation and destruction with remarkable consistency across cultures that had limited historical contact. Stories of previous worlds destroyed by fire, flood, and geological upheaval appear throughout Oceania, often with specific details about the technologies and achievements of vanished civilizations. These oral traditions may preserve authentic historical memories rather than purely mythological narratives. The mathematical principles encoded in Pacific megalithic architecture demonstrate understanding of advanced geometric concepts that required sophisticated educational systems to develop and transmit. The consistency of these mathematical relationships across widely separated sites suggests they derive from common sources rather than independent invention. Educational institutions capable of maintaining such knowledge would have required stable social structures and permanent facilities that could only have existed on substantial land masses. Archaeological evidence from Pacific Island sites reveals technological capabilities that exceed what should have been possible given the limited resources available in isolated island environments. Precision stone cutting, advanced metallurgy, and sophisticated engineering all require access to diverse materials, specialized tools, and accumulated knowledge that develops over many generations. The presence of such technologies on remote islands suggests inheritance from cultures with access to continental resources. The acoustic properties built into Pacific megalithic sites reveal understanding of sound transmission through solid rock and ocean water that anticipates modern scientific principles by thousands of years. These monuments appear designed to function as components of communication networks spanning vast ocean distances. The physics principles required to engineer such acoustic systems represent scientific knowledge that conventional timelines can't adequately explain. Underwater archaeological surveys continue revealing the extent of submerged structures throughout the Pacific Basin. Ground-penetrating sonar has identified artificial formations covering areas comparable to modern cities, with evidence of planned layouts, construction phases, and architectural evolution spanning centuries. These underwater urban complexes suggest population densities and social organization far exceeding what traditional models of Pacific settlement can accommodate. The preservation of organic materials in anaerobic underwater environments has enabled direct radiocarbon dating of human artifacts from submerged Pacific sites. Results consistently place human activity in these locations during periods when they were above sea level, providing chronological frameworks that extend Pacific cultural history thousands of years deeper into the past than conventional archaeological timelines suggest. Recent discoveries of submerged agricultural terraces throughout the Pacific demonstrate sophisticated land management practices that required stable terrestrial environments for their development and maintenance. These underwater field systems show evidence of irrigation engineering, soil amendment techniques, and crop rotation methods that represent generations of agricultural innovation. Their current underwater location indicates that productive agricultural regions existed in areas now covered by deep ocean. The biological evidence preserved in Pacific coral reefs reveals ecosystem changes that correlate with proposed periods of continental submergence. Reef formations show distinct layers where terrestrial sediments were rapidly buried by marine deposits, indicating sudden transitions from land to ocean environments. The timing of these transitions matches genetic and cultural discontinuities in Pacific human populations. Analysis of deep ocean currents and their effects on Pacific climate patterns reveals how the submergence of large land masses could have triggered cascading environmental changes throughout the region. Computer models show that the loss of continental barriers would have dramatically altered ocean circulation, affecting temperature, precipitation, and seasonal patterns across the entire Pacific Basin. Such environmental changes could have made previously habitable regions uninhabitable within decades. The distribution of endemic species across Pacific islands provides biological evidence for former land connections that no longer exist. Many island species show genetic relationships that require direct terrestrial migration routes rather than ocean dispersal. The biogeographical patterns suggest that Pacific islands were connected by extensive shallow seas or land bridges during periods of lower sea level, enabling the biological and cultural exchanges that shape the region's diversity. Traditional knowledge systems preserved among Pacific island cultures demonstrate understanding of oceanographic, meteorological, and biological principles that required extensive systematic observation to develop. This scientific knowledge couldn't have been acquired through casual observation, but represents the accumulated research of cultures with access to diverse environments and stable research platforms. The sophistication of this traditional science suggests inheritance from civilizations with formal educational institutions and research programs. The convergence of evidence from multiple scientific disciplines creates an increasingly compelling case for advanced Pacific civilizations that flourished during prehistoric periods before succumbing to geological catastrophes. Whether these cultures match the specific descriptions of Mu preserved in controversial historical accounts may never be definitively established, but the growing body of physical evidence confirms that human achievement in the Pacific Basin extends far deeper into prehistory than conventional historical narratives acknowledge. The implications of these discoveries transcend academic debates about lost continents to fundamental questions about the resilience and antiquity of human civilization. The Pacific evidence suggests that advanced societies have emerged repeatedly throughout prehistory, developing sophisticated technologies and knowledge systems before being destroyed by environmental catastrophes beyond their control. The fragments of their achievements survive in the archaeological record, in genetic markers, in linguistic fossils, and in the oral traditions of their scattered descendants. As exploration technologies advance and new underwater sites are discovered, the potential for revolutionary findings continues to grow. Each new piece of evidence adds complexity to our understanding of Pacific prehistory and demonstrates that the ocean basins hold vast archives of human history waiting to be explored. The search for these vanished civilizations drives innovation in marine archaeology, geological research, and anthropological investigation, pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible about human cultural development. The story of the Pacific's lost lands reminds us that our planet's surface has been dramatically reshaped by geological forces throughout human history. Continents have risen and fallen, coastlines have advanced and retreated, and entire ecosystems have appeared and vanished according to cycles that operate on timescales far exceeding individual human experience. The civilizations that developed during favorable periods left traces of their existence scattered across landscapes that no longer exist, preserved in forms we're only beginning to recognize and understand. The quest to uncover these hidden chapters of human history continues to reveal the remarkable adaptability and ingenuity of our species. From the Arctic shores where Hyperborea may have flourished to the submerged Pacific realms that once supported the civilization of Mu, evidence accumulates that humanity has faced and survived environmental challenges of planetary magnitude. The knowledge systems, technological innovations, and cultural achievements developed by these vanished societies provided the foundation for later civilizations and continue to influence human development today. Whether future discoveries will validate the specific claims about these legendary continents remains uncertain, but the evidence already uncovered proves that our understanding of human prehistory remains fundamentally incomplete. Beneath the waters that cover 70% of our planet's surface lie archives of human achievement that may revolutionize our conception of civilization's antiquity and resilience. The legends of Hyperborea and Mu, whatever their ultimate historical accuracy, point toward possibilities that mainstream archaeology has only recently begun to explore seriously. The search for these lost worlds continues to inspire new generations of researchers, explorers, and visionaries who recognize that humanity's story extends far deeper into the past than conventional timelines suggest. Each discovery brings us closer to understanding the full scope of human achievement and the recurring cycles of creation and destruction that have shaped our species' development. In the fragments of vanished continents, we glimpse reflections of our own civilization's potential and the eternal human drive to build, explore, and transcend the limitations of our immediate environment. The waters that swallowed these ancient lands continue to rise and fall according to cosmic rhythms that operate beyond human control. Yet within their depths, the achievements of vanished civilizations wait patiently for rediscovery, holding secrets that may prove essential for humanity's continued survival and development. The quest to recover this lost knowledge drives us forward, reminding us that we are not the first advanced civilization our planet has supported, and inspiring us to ensure we will not be the last. The patterns that emerge from this convergence of evidence point toward a reality far more complex than the simple narrative of gradual human progress taught in schools. When we map the distribution of unexplained megalithic sites across both the Arctic regions associated with Hyperborea and the Pacific basin linked to Mu, we discover alignments that transcend individual cultures and time periods. These monuments share mathematical principles, astronomical orientations, and construction techniques that suggest access to a common body of knowledge that somehow survived the destruction of its original sources. The precision with which these ancient sites encode information about Earth's dimensions, celestial mechanics, and geological processes reveals understanding that shouldn't have existed in their supposed time periods. Structures attributed to Bronze Age cultures demonstrate knowledge of planetary circumference, axial precession, and magnetic field behavior that wouldn't be formally rediscovered until the modern era. Either our dating methods are systematically flawed, or these monuments preserve scientific achievements from civilizations far more advanced than conventional timelines allow. Recent analysis of construction materials used in both Arctic and Pacific megalithic sites reveals another layer of mystery. Petrographic studies show that many of these monuments were built using stones that don't occur naturally in their local environments. Granite blocks in Arctic sites originated from quarries hundreds of miles away, while Pacific monuments contain materials that could only have been sourced from continental land masses that no longer exist above sea level. The logistics of transporting these materials across such distances using supposedly primitive technologies challenges every assumption about prehistoric capabilities. The acoustic properties shared by monuments in both regions demonstrate sophisticated understanding of sound propagation through different media. Arctic sites show evidence of design principles that enhance voice transmission across vast distances, while Pacific structures appear engineered to communicate through solid rock and ocean water. These aren't random architectural features, but systematic applications of physics, principles that required extensive experimentation and mathematical modeling to develop. Electromagnetic surveys of both Arctic and Pacific megalithic sites reveal consistent anomalies that distinguish them from natural geological formations. Ground-penetrating radar shows subsurface structures that extend far deeper than visible monuments, suggesting these sites represent only the upper portions of much larger complexes. The underground components display geometric patterns and construction techniques that mirror those found in the surface structures, indicating coordinated building programs that operated according to unified design principles. The mathematical relationships encoded in both Hyperborean and Pacific sites demonstrate awareness of cosmic cycles that require thousands of years of careful observation to detect. Monument alignments track not only seasonal changes, but also the slow precession of Earth's axis, a phenomenon that takes 26,000 years to complete one full cycle. Cultures capable of measuring and encoding such long-term astronomical data must have maintained observational programs spanning dozens of generations, requiring social stability and institutional continuity that conventional models of prehistoric society can't accommodate. Traditional navigation knowledge preserved in both Arctic and Pacific cultures shows remarkable similarities despite the vast distances and different environments involved. Techniques for reading magnetic field variations, interpreting atmospheric phenomena, and using biological indicators for position finding appear in both regions with consistent underlying principles. This shared knowledge suggests either direct cultural contact between widely separated peoples or inheritance from common ancestral sources that possessed advanced understanding of terrestrial and celestial navigation. The genetic evidence becomes even more intriguing when examined across both regions. DNA analysis reveals that certain genetic markers appear in both Arctic and Pacific populations, despite the vast geographical separation and supposed independent development of these groups. These shared genetic signatures could indicate ancient migration routes that connected the two regions during periods when geography and climate differed dramatically from current conditions. Linguistic analysis uncovers similar patterns of shared vocabulary and grammatical structures between languages spoken in Arctic and Pacific regions. Root words related to astronomical observation, megalithic construction, and advanced navigation appear in both language families with remarkable consistency. This linguistic evidence suggests that speakers of these languages descended from populations that shared common cultural and technological knowledge before dispersing to their current locations. The timing of cultural developments in both regions shows synchronous patterns that transcend the limitations of communication technologies available during prehistoric periods. Major construction phases, technological innovations, and cultural changes occurred simultaneously across Arctic and Pacific sites, separated by thousands of miles. This coordination implies either advanced communication systems that spanned global distances or shared responses to environmental changes that affected both regions simultaneously. Climate records preserved in ice cores and sediment deposits reveal that both Arctic and Pacific regions experienced dramatic environmental changes during the same time periods when their respective megalithic cultures reached peak development. Rapid warming events, volcanic winters, and magnetic field fluctuations affected both regions according to patterns that suggest global rather than local causation. These environmental changes could have triggered the technological developments and cultural achievements recorded in both archaeological traditions. The metallurgical evidence from both regions demonstrates working knowledge of alloy compositions and forging techniques that required access to diverse mineral resources and sophisticated temperature control systems. Arctic sites contain bronze and copper artifacts with trace element signatures indicating materials sourced from locations thousands of miles away. Pacific sites show evidence of metalworking that required furnace technologies capable of achieving temperatures that shouldn't have been possible with available fuel sources. Recent discoveries of submerged structures in both Arctic and Pacific waters reveal the true extent of what lies hidden beneath the oceans. Underwater surveys have identified artificial formations that follow similar architectural principles, despite being located in completely different oceanic environments. These submerged complexes show evidence of systematic planning and construction techniques that required coordination across vast distances and extended time periods. The preservation of organic materials in both Arctic permafrost and Pacific underwater sites has enabled direct dating of artifacts that consistently yield ages far exceeding conventional timelines for human technological development in these regions. Radiocarbon analysis of wooden tools, textile fragments, and food remains places human activity in both areas during periods when they supposedly lacked the population density and technological sophistication to support the kinds of construction projects evidenced in the archaeological record. Astronomical software modeling reveals that the celestial alignments built into monuments in both regions were optimized for sky conditions that existed during specific prehistoric periods, when stellar positions differed significantly from current configurations. The precision with which these ancient sites track former star positions demonstrates observational capabilities and mathematical understanding that required sophisticated instruments and systematic recording methods to achieve. The distribution of similar architectural features across both Arctic and Pacific sites suggests standardized construction methods that transcended local cultural boundaries. Specific building techniques, proportional relationships, and decorative motifs appear consistently across both regions, with variations that indicate adaptation to local materials and environmental conditions rather than independent invention. This standardization implies centralized knowledge systems that maintain consistent architectural principles across vast geographical distances. Traditional oral histories from both regions preserve remarkably similar accounts of prehistoric golden ages, followed by catastrophic destruction and cultural dispersal. Stories describe advanced ancestors who possessed technologies and knowledge that were subsequently lost during periods of environmental upheaval. The consistency of these narratives across cultures that had no historical contact suggests they preserve authentic memories of real events rather than purely mythological constructs. The magnetic properties recorded in rocks from both Arctic and Pacific megalithic sites reveal evidence of construction during periods when Earth's magnetic field behaved differently from current patterns. Paleomagnetic analysis shows that some monuments were aligned with magnetic orientations that no longer exist, indicating they were built during periods of magnetic field reversal or anomalous magnetic activity that affected navigation and possibly other technologies dependent on magnetic phenomena. Geochemical analysis of soils surrounding both Arctic and Pacific megalithic sites reveals trace element concentrations that indicate former environmental conditions dramatically different from those existing today. These chemical signatures suggest that both regions supported much larger populations and more intensive land use during prehistoric periods, when climate and geography provided more favorable conditions for human settlement and technological development. The discovery of sophisticated water management systems at both Arctic and Pacific sites demonstrates engineering capabilities that required advanced understanding of hydrology, geology, and construction techniques. Irrigation channels, drainage systems, and water storage facilities show evidence of systematic planning and maintenance that could only have been sustained by organized societies with stable institutional structures and accumulated technical knowledge. Recent advances in underwater robotics have enabled exploration of deep ocean sites that reveal the full extent of submerged structures in both Arctic and Pacific waters. These discoveries show that current coastlines represent only a fraction of the land area that was available for human occupation during periods of lower sea level. The archaeological potential of these submerged regions suggests that major chapters of human prehistory remain hidden beneath the oceans. The integration of evidence from multiple scientific disciplines creates an increasingly coherent picture of prehistoric civilizations that achieved technological and cultural sophistication far exceeding what conventional historical narratives acknowledge. Whether these achievements match the specific descriptions preserved in legends of Hyperborea and Mu may never be definitively proven, but the accumulating physical evidence demonstrates that human civilization has deeper roots and greater antiquity than mainstream archaeology currently recognizes. The implications of these discoveries extend beyond academic debates to fundamental questions about the nature of human cultural development and the relationship between technological achievement and environmental stability. The evidence suggests that advanced civilizations have emerged repeatedly throughout prehistory, developing sophisticated knowledge systems before being destroyed by geological catastrophes or climate changes that operated on planetary scales. The search for these vanished worlds continues to drive innovation in archaeological methodology, geological research, and anthropological investigation. Each new discovery adds complexity to our understanding of human prehistory and demonstrates that conventional timelines represent only simplified approximations of a much richer and more dynamic historical reality. The quest to recover this lost knowledge challenges us to reconsider fundamental assumptions about human capabilities and the factors that enable or prevent the development of advanced civilizations. As exploration technologies advance and previously inaccessible regions become available for systematic investigation, the potential for revolutionary discoveries grows exponentially. Satellite imaging, deep ocean exploration, and advanced dating techniques continue revealing evidence that human achievement extends far deeper into prehistory than conventional models suggest. The fragments of vanished civilizations scattered across our planet's surface and hidden beneath its waters represent archives of human accomplishment that may reshape our understanding of our species' true potential and historical trajectory. the story of Hyperborea and Mu, whether ultimately validated by future discoveries or relegated to the realm of inspired speculation, serves a crucial function in expanding our conception of what human civilizations might have achieved during the vast stretches of prehistory that remain largely unexplored. These legends remind us that our current technological civilization represents neither the first nor necessarily the most sophisticated attempt by our species to understand and manipulate the forces governing our planetary environment. The patterns revealed by comparative analysis of global megalithic sites, genetic distributions, linguistic relationships, and geological evidence suggest that human civilization has followed cyclical patterns of development, achievement, and destruction throughout its existence on Earth. The knowledge preserved in ancient monuments, traditional cultures, and geological records provides glimpses of these vanished worlds and hints at the scientific principles and technological capabilities they may have possessed. Understanding these patterns becomes crucial as our own civilization faces environmental challenges and technological transitions that echo those experienced by our prehistoric predecessors. The resilience demonstrated by human cultures throughout the cycles of creation and destruction recorded in the archaeological and geological record offers both inspiration and practical guidance for navigating the challenges that lie ahead. The quest to uncover the truth about Hyperborea and Mu continues to inspire new generations of researchers, explorers, and visionaries who recognize that humanity's story encompasses far more than the brief historical period documented in written records. Each discovery brings us closer to understanding the full scope of human achievement and the eternal cycles that have shaped our species' development across the vast expanses of geological time. The convergence of evidence from these scattered investigations points toward a startling possibility that challenges the very foundations of how we understand human development. When archaeologists began applying advanced imaging techniques to sites across both polar and equatorial regions, they discovered that the megalithic complexes attributed to different cultures and time periods actually form vast geometric patterns visible only from orbital altitudes. These alignments stretch across continents and oceans, connecting monuments built supposedly by peoples who had no contact with each other, yet following mathematical principles so precise they rival modern surveying accuracy. The implications become even more profound when we examine the technological signatures embedded within these ancient sites. Spectroscopic analysis of stone surfaces reveals tool marks that don't match any known prehistoric implement. The cutting patterns show characteristics consistent with high-frequency vibration, controlled thermal manipulation, and precision machining that shouldn't have existed thousands of years before the Industrial Revolution. Yet these signatures appear consistently across sites attributed to cultures separated by vast distances and supposedly primitive technological capabilities. Even more intriguing are the electromagnetic anomalies detected at both Arctic and Pacific megalithic locations. Magnetometer surveys reveal that these sites generate subtle but measurable electromagnetic fields that pulse according to patterns synchronized with planetary rotation and solar activity. The precision of these electromagnetic signatures suggests they weren't accidental byproducts of construction, but intentional features designed to interact with natural energy systems operating on geological scales. Traditional knowledge keepers from both regions describe their ancestors' understanding of these energy phenomena in terms that anticipate modern physics by millennia. Arctic shamanic traditions speak of song lines that connect sacred sites across vast distances, enabling communication and energy transmission through methods that conventional science is only beginning to investigate. Pacific navigators describe similar concepts, referring to pathways of force that guide ocean voyages and connect island sanctuaries according to principles that extend far beyond simple celestial navigation. The mathematical sophistication encoded within these sites becomes apparent when researchers apply computer modeling to analyze their geometric relationships. Monument positions conform to ratios that encode fundamental physical constants, planetary dimensions, and astronomical cycles, with precision that exceeds measurements available to the cultures supposedly responsible for their construction. These mathematical relationships appear not randomly but systematically, as components of integrated design systems that operated according to unified principles spanning global distances. Recent advances in ground-penetrating radar have revealed that the visible portions of these ancient complexes represent only surface manifestations of much larger underground networks. Subsurface mapping shows extensive tunnel systems, chamber complexes, and structural foundations that extend hundreds of meters below ground level. These underground installations display construction techniques and architectural principles that mirror those found in the surface monuments, suggesting coordinated building programs that operated on scales requiring massive organizational capabilities and sustained resource commitment. The discovery of similar underground networks beneath both Arctic permafrost and Pacific Ocean floors indicates that these subsurface complexes may have originally formed connected systems spanning continental distances. Geological analysis suggests that many of these underground installations were constructed during periods when sea levels and land configurations differed dramatically from current conditions, enabling direct terrestrial connections between regions now separated by deep ocean. Acoustic testing of these underground networks reveals that they function as resonant systems capable of transmitting low-frequency vibrations across enormous distances. The physics principles required to engineer such acoustic transmission systems demonstrate understanding of wave propagation, structural resonance, and geological mechanics that anticipates modern seismic science by thousands of years. These weren't crude caves or simple storage facilities, but sophisticated installations designed to harness and manipulate natural forces according to scientific principles that conventional timelines can't adequately explain. The biological evidence preserved within these underground environments provides direct testimony to the environmental conditions that existed during their periods of active use. Pollen analysis, seed remains, and preserved organic materials reveal ecosystems that supported diverse plant and animal communities in regions that are now Arctic desert or deep ocean. The biological diversity recorded in these archaeological deposits indicates that both Arctic and Pacific regions once sustained much larger populations and more complex societies than current environmental conditions could support. Genetic analysis of organic materials recovered from these sites reveals DNA sequences that don't match any known prehistoric populations, but show characteristics consistent with sophisticated selective breeding programs and possibly genetic manipulation techniques. The genetic signatures suggest that the peoples responsible for these installations possessed biological knowledge and biotechnology capabilities, far exceeding what conventional archaeological timelines attribute to prehistoric cultures. The metallurgical evidence becomes even more compelling when examined through advanced analytical techniques. Electron microscopy reveals that metal artifacts from both regions contain alloy compositions and molecular structures that require manufacturing processes involving controlled atmospheres, precise temperature regulation, and chemical purification methods that shouldn't have been available to prehistoric cultures. Some metal samples show evidence of atomic-level engineering that resembles modern nanotechnology applications. Isotopic analysis of these metal artifacts indicates that their raw materials originated from geological formations that are now underwater or otherwise inaccessible, suggesting that the mining and manufacturing operations that produced them were conducted during periods when geography and sea levels differed substantially from current conditions. The distribution patterns of these exotic materials across both Arctic and Pacific sites indicate trade networks or transportation systems that spanned global distances during prehistoric periods. The astronomical knowledge preserved in both regions demonstrates observational capabilities that required sophisticated instruments and systematic recording methods sustained over many generations. Traditional calendars maintained by indigenous cultures in both areas track celestial cycles with precision that rivals modern astronomical calculations. Yet this knowledge supposedly developed among peoples lacking written language and formal educational institutions. The consistency and accuracy of this astronomical knowledge suggests inheritance from cultures with access to advanced observational technologies and formal scientific institutions. Recent satellite surveys have identified additional megalithic complexes in both Arctic and Pacific regions that were previously unknown to archaeological science. These newly discovered sites follow the same architectural principles and mathematical relationships found in previously studied monuments, extending the geographic scope of these ancient construction programs even further. The distribution patterns of these sites suggest that systematic surveys of remote regions may reveal many more installations that have remained hidden beneath ice, vegetation, or ocean sediments. The preservation conditions in both Arctic and Pacific environments have maintained organic materials that enable direct radiocarbon dating of human activities at these sites. Results consistently yield ages that extend the timeline of sophisticated human settlement in both regions, thousands of years deeper into prehistory than conventional archaeological models accommodate. Either the dating methods are systematically flawed across multiple laboratory facilities and analytical techniques, or human technological capabilities during prehistoric periods far exceeded what mainstream archaeology currently recognizes. Climate records preserved in ice cores, sediment layers, and speleothem deposits reveal that both Arctic and Pacific regions experience synchronized environmental changes that correlate with the construction and abandonment phases of their respective megalithic complexes. These climate fluctuations operated on timescales consistent with astronomical cycles, suggesting that the builders of these installations possess predictive capabilities that enable them to anticipate and prepare for long-term environmental changes. The magnetic field variations recorded in paleomagnetic data from both regions show anomalous patterns that coincide with the periods of peak megalithic construction activity. These magnetic anomalies could indicate either that the ancient builders possessed technologies that interacted with Earth's magnetic field, or that they timed their construction activities to coincide with periods of magnetic field instability that somehow facilitated their building methods. Geochemical analysis of soils and rock formations surrounding these ancient sites reveals trace element concentrations that indicate former industrial activities involving high-temperature processes, chemical extraction, and material purification. These geochemical signatures suggest that both Arctic and Pacific megalithic cultures engaged in manufacturing activities that required technological capabilities exceeding those attributed to prehistoric societies by conventional archaeological interpretation. The water management systems discovered at these sites demonstrate hydraulic engineering principles that anticipate modern techniques by thousands of years. Sophisticated drainage networks, water storage facilities, and flow control mechanisms show evidence of systematic planning and mathematical modeling that required advanced understanding of fluid dynamics, structural engineering, and long-term maintenance requirements. Recent discoveries of preserved textiles and cordage materials from both regions reveal manufacturing techniques that produce materials with properties rivaling modern synthetic fibers. Microscopic analysis shows fiber treatments, weaving patterns, and composite construction methods that demonstrate advanced materials, science knowledge, and sophisticated manufacturing capabilities that conventional timelines don't accommodate. The integration of evidence from multiple scientific disciplines creates an increasingly coherent picture of prehistoric civilizations that achieved levels of technological and scientific sophistication that challenge fundamental assumptions about human cultural development. The consistency of this evidence across widely separated geographical regions and supposedly independent cultural traditions suggests that these achievements weren't isolated anomalies but components of a global phenomenon that operated according to unified principles and shared knowledge systems. The mathematical principles, astronomical knowledge, construction techniques, and technological capabilities evidenced at sites associated with both Hyperborea and Mu point toward civilizations that possess scientific understanding and engineering capabilities that in many respects exceeded those of recognized historical cultures. Whether these achievements validate the specific claims preserved in ancient legends may never be definitively established, but the accumulating physical evidence demonstrates that human prehistory encompasses technological and cultural developments far more sophisticated than conventional historical narratives acknowledge. The search for these vanished civilizations continues to drive innovation in archaeological methodology, geological research, and scientific investigation across multiple disciplines. Each new discovery adds complexity to our understanding of human capabilities during prehistoric periods and demonstrates that the story of human technological development follows patterns far more complex and dynamic than simple linear progression from primitive to advanced capabilities. As exploration technologies advance and previously inaccessible regions become available for systematic investigation, the potential for discoveries that could revolutionize our understanding of human prehistory continues to grow. The fragments of these ancient achievements scattered across our planet represent archives of human knowledge and capability that may hold keys to understanding both our species' past accomplishments and future potential. The evidence accumulated through decades of research across Arctic and Pacific regions suggests that the legends of Hyperborea and Mu, whatever their ultimate historical accuracy, point toward realities about human prehistory that extend far beyond the scope of conventional archaeological timelines. These discoveries remind us that our current understanding of human cultural development represents only a preliminary approximation of a much richer and more complex historical reality that continues to reveal itself through patient investigation and advancing technology. The patterns revealed through this research indicate that human civilization has followed cyclical trajectories of development, achievement, and transformation throughout its existence on Earth. The knowledge systems and technological capabilities developed during these earlier phases of human cultural evolution may have provided foundations for later civilizations and continue to influence human development through mechanisms we're only beginning to understand. The quest to uncover the full truth about these vanished worlds challenges us to expand our conception of human potential and to recognize that our species' relationship with planetary systems and cosmic forces may be far more sophisticated and enduring than current scientific paradigms acknowledge. The evidence points toward possibilities that could reshape our understanding of human origins, capabilities, and destiny within the larger context of planetary and cosmic evolution. The accumulating evidence forces us to confront an uncomfortable possibility that mainstream academia has long resisted. When we map the distribution of unexplained technological signatures across both regions, a pattern emerges that transcends individual archaeological sites to encompass entire continental systems. Advanced spectrographic analysis reveals that monuments separated by thousands of miles were constructed using identical mineral processing techniques, suggesting not just shared knowledge, but coordinated industrial operations that spanned global distances during supposedly primitive periods. The precision manufacturing evident in artifacts from both Arctic and Pacific sites demonstrates capabilities that shouldn't have existed without sophisticated tool-making industries and quality control systems. Electron microscopy reveals surface treatments and alloy compositions that require manufacturing environments with controlled atmospheric conditions, precise temperature regulation, and chemical purification methods that conventional archaeology attributes to much later historical periods. Yet these technological signatures appear consistently across sites that predate recognized industrial civilizations by millennia. Even more remarkable are the energy management systems embedded within these ancient installations. Electromagnetic field measurements reveal that megalithic complexes in both regions generate, and manipulate electrical phenomena according to principles that anticipate modern power grid technology. The positioning of monuments creates resonant networks that amplify and transmit electromagnetic energy across continental distances, suggesting understanding of electrical engineering principles that weren't formally recognized until the 19th century. Traditional knowledge systems preserved among indigenous populations in both regions describe these energy phenomena using terminology that correlates remarkably with modern physics concepts. Arctic oral traditions speak of invisible pathways that connect sacred sites and enable instantaneous communication across vast distances. Pacific navigational knowledge includes references to energy currents that flow through ocean basins and can be harnessed for transportation and communication purposes. These aren't vague mystical concepts, but precise technical descriptions that anticipate electromagnetic theory by thousands of years. The mathematical sophistication required to engineer these systems becomes apparent through computer modeling of their geometric relationships. Monument networks conform to equations that describe wave propagation, field resonance, and energy transmission, with accuracy that rivals modern electrical engineering calculations. The precision of these mathematical relationships indicates that their designers possess not just intuitive understanding of natural forces, but formal mathematical frameworks for analyzing and manipulating complex physical systems. Recent advances in subsurface imaging have revealed that the visible monuments represent only the terminal points of vast underground infrastructure networks. Ground-penetrating radar shows extensive tunnel systems, chamber complexes, and conduit networks that extend hundreds of kilometers beneath both Arctic permafrost and Pacific Ocean floors. These underground installations display construction techniques and architectural principles that demonstrate systematic engineering approaches to large-scale infrastructure development. The synchronization of activities across both regions becomes even more intriguing when examined through the lens of astronomical timing. Construction phases at sites separated by half the globe correlate with identical celestial events, suggesting coordination mechanisms that transcended the limitations of conventional communication technologies. Either these cultures possessed advanced communication systems that spanned global distances, or they followed astronomical calendars so precise that widely separated populations could synchronize their activities according to cosmic rather than terrestrial timing systems. Geological analysis of construction materials reveals another layer of coordination that challenges conventional understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Isotopic signatures show that specific types of stone were quarried from particular geological formations and distributed to sites across both Arctic and Pacific regions according to systematic patterns. The logistics of coordinating such material distribution networks required organizational capabilities and transportation systems that operated on continental scales. The biological evidence preserved in both regions indicates that these ancient cultures possessed sophisticated understanding of ecological management and possibly genetic manipulation techniques. Pollen records from archaeological contexts show plant species combinations that don't occur naturally, suggesting systematic cultivation programs that involve selective breeding and possibly genetic modification of crop varieties. Some preserved plant remains show genetic modifications that anticipate modern agricultural biotechnology by thousands of years. Microscopic analysis of preserved organic materials reveals manufacturing techniques that produce composite materials, with properties exceeding those of many modern synthetic substances. Fiber analysis shows textile production methods that created materials with tensile strength, weather resistance, and durability characteristics that rival contemporary high-performance fabrics. The chemical treatments applied to these materials required sophisticated understanding of polymer chemistry and material science. The metallurgical achievements evidenced in both regions demonstrate capabilities that required not just advanced smelting techniques, but sophisticated understanding of atomic-level material properties. X-ray crystallography reveals metal structures that show evidence of controlled grain orientation, selective alloying, and surface treatments that anticipate modern materials engineering by millennia. Some metal artifacts display properties that contemporary metallurgy struggles to reproduce using current industrial methods. Water management systems discovered at sites in both regions demonstrate hydraulic engineering principles that required advanced mathematical modeling of fluid dynamics and structural mechanics. Irrigation networks, drainage systems, and flow control mechanisms show evidence of systematic optimization that maximized efficiency while minimizing maintenance requirements. The scale and sophistication of these hydraulic systems suggest centralized planning and engineering coordination that operated according to unified technical standards. The acoustic properties built into monuments across both regions reveal understanding of sound transmission and resonance principles that anticipate modern acoustic engineering. Structural analysis shows that these installations were designed to generate, amplify, and transmit specific frequencies across enormous distances using principles of mechanical resonance and wave propagation that weren't formally recognized until the development of modern physics. Recent discoveries of preserved computational devices in both Arctic and Pacific contexts suggest that these cultures possessed mechanical calculation systems that anticipated later developments in mathematics and engineering. Gear mechanisms, counting systems, and mathematical instruments show evidence of sophisticated approaches to numerical analysis and engineering calculation that required formal mathematical education systems to develop and maintain. The astronomical instruments discovered at sites in both regions demonstrate observational capabilities that required precision manufacturing and sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. Alignment mechanisms, calculation devices, and measurement systems show evidence of systematic approaches to astronomical observation that achieved accuracy levels rivaling modern observatory equipment. The consistency of these astronomical capabilities across widely separated sites suggests standardized educational systems and shared technical knowledge. Traditional navigation knowledge preserved in both regions demonstrates understanding of terrestrial and celestial phenomena that required systematic scientific investigation to develop. Techniques for reading magnetic field variations, interpreting atmospheric conditions, and using biological indicators for position determination show evidence of empirical research programs that anticipated modern geophysical and atmospheric science by thousands of years. The linguistic evidence becomes even more compelling when examined through computational analysis of vocabulary patterns and grammatical structures. Shared technical terminology appears in languages spoken across both Arctic and Pacific regions, with root words related to advanced manufacturing, astronomical observation, and energy manipulation appearing consistently despite the vast geographical separation between these language communities. Genetic analysis of populations in both regions reveals shared ancestry patterns that indicate ancient migration routes connecting Arctic and Pacific populations during periods when current geographical barriers didn't exist. DNA sequences show evidence of population movements that followed systematic patterns, suggesting organized colonization programs rather than random migration processes. The integration of evidence from multiple scientific disciplines creates a picture of prehistoric human achievement that challenges fundamental assumptions about technological development and cultural evolution. The sophistication and coordination evidenced across both Arctic and Pacific regions suggests that human civilizations during prehistoric periods possessed scientific knowledge and technological capabilities that in many respects exceeded those of recognized historical cultures. Climate records indicate that both regions experienced environmental conditions during certain prehistoric periods that were far more conducive to supporting large populations and advanced technological development than current conditions allow. Ice core data, sediment analysis, and paleological evidence show that extensive temperate zones existed in areas that are now Arctic desert or deep ocean, providing environmental foundations that could have supported the kind of sophisticated civilizations evidenced in the archaeological record. The magnetic field variations recorded in paleomagnetic data from both regions show patterns that correlate with periods of peak technological activity, suggesting that these ancient cultures either possessed technologies that interacted with Earth's magnetic field or timed their activities to coincide with magnetic field conditions that somehow facilitated their technological capabilities. Recent satellite surveys continue revealing additional sites in both regions that follow the same architectural principles and technological signatures found in previously studied locations. The expanding geographic scope of these discoveries suggests that systematic surveys of remote regions may uncover evidence for technological civilizations that operated across much larger areas than current archaeological models acknowledge. The preservation conditions in both Arctic permafrost and Pacific underwater environments have maintained technological artifacts and organic materials that enable direct analysis of prehistoric manufacturing capabilities and scientific knowledge. These preserved materials provide unprecedented insights into the actual technological capabilities possessed by prehistoric cultures, rather than the simplified interpretations based on limited artifact samples that have shaped conventional archaeological understanding. The mathematical relationships encoded in monument networks across both regions demonstrate understanding of advanced geometric principles, astronomical cycles, and physical constants that required sophisticated educational systems to develop and transmit across generations. The consistency of these mathematical principles across widely separated sites suggests that their development and application followed systematic approaches to scientific investigation and technical education. The evidence accumulated through decades of research in both Arctic and Pacific regions points toward prehistoric human civilizations that achieved levels of scientific understanding and technological capability that challenge conventional timelines of human cultural development. Whether these achievements validate specific claims about legendary continents may remain uncertain, but the physical evidence demonstrates that human prehistory encompasses scientific and technological developments far more sophisticated than mainstream historical narratives currently acknowledge. The search for these vanished civilizations continues to drive innovation in archaeological methodology, geological research, and scientific investigation across multiple disciplines. Each new discovery adds complexity to our understanding of human capabilities during prehistoric periods and suggests that the story of human technological development follows patterns far more dynamic and sophisticated than simple linear progression models can accommodate. As exploration technologies advance and previously inaccessible regions become available for systematic investigation, the potential for discoveries that could fundamentally reshape our understanding of human prehistory continues to expand. The accumulated evidence suggests that our current conception of human cultural evolution represents only a preliminary framework for understanding a much richer and more complex historical reality that continues to emerge through advancing research capabilities. The implications of these discoveries extend beyond academic debates to fundamental questions about human potential and our species' relationship with planetary systems and cosmic forces. The evidence points toward possibilities that could transform our understanding of human origins, capabilities, and future development within the context of planetary and cosmic evolution. The quest to uncover the complete truth about these prehistoric achievements challenges us to expand our conception of what human civilizations might accomplish when operating in harmony with natural forces and cosmic cycles. The fragments of ancient knowledge scattered across our planet may hold keys to understanding not only our past, but also pathways toward future developments that could enable humanity to achieve even greater harmony with the forces that govern planetary and cosmic evolution. The story of these vanished worlds reminds us that human civilization operates within cycles of development and transformation that extend far beyond the scope of recorded history. The achievements of prehistoric cultures may have provided foundations for later civilizations and continue to influence human development through mechanisms that operate across timescales spanning thousands of years. Understanding these deeper patterns of human cultural evolution becomes increasingly important as our own civilization faces challenges that may require capabilities and knowledge systems that transcend conventional technological approaches. The evidence suggests that solutions to contemporary problems may be found through recovering and integrating knowledge systems developed by prehistoric cultures that achieve sustainable relationships with planetary forces and cosmic cycles. The investigation of these ancient achievements continues to reveal that human potential extends far beyond current technological and scientific paradigms. The accumulated evidence points toward possibilities for human development that could enable our species to achieve levels of understanding and capability that approach those evidenced in the prehistoric archaeological record. The journey to understand these vanished civilizations ultimately leads us toward a deeper appreciation of human potential and our species' role within the larger context of planetary and cosmic evolution. The evidence suggests that the achievements of prehistoric cultures represent not isolated anomalies, but expressions of human capabilities that remain latent within our species and could be reactivated through appropriate approaches to education, technology, and cultural development. The convergence of these discoveries illuminates a profound truth that has haunted human consciousness since our earliest myths were first whispered around dying fires. We are not the first advanced civilization to walk this planet, nor are we likely to be the last. The evidence scattered across Arctic wastes and Pacific depths speaks to cycles of achievement and catastrophe that operate on timescales far exceeding human memory, yet leave traces vivid enough to inspire legends that refuse to die. What emerges from this tapestry of evidence is not simply the story of two lost continents, but a revelation about the fundamental nature of human existence on Earth. The patterns revealed through decades of investigation suggest that our species has repeatedly achieved heights of knowledge and capability that conventional history cannot accommodate. These achievements occurred not once, but cyclically, rising from the ashes of previous collapses to reach toward understanding that transcended the limitations of their immediate circumstances. The technological signatures embedded in sites across both regions point toward civilizations that possess not merely advanced tools, but integrated worldviews that unified scientific understanding with spiritual wisdom. Their monuments weren't built to display power or commemorate rulers, but to encode knowledge that could survive the destruction of the cultures that created them. Every angle, every proportion, every alignment served as a library written in stone, preserving information about cosmic cycles, planetary forces, and human potential for generations yet unborn. The precision with which these ancient builders worked reveals understanding that approached the sacred. They didn't simply move massive stones or carve intricate patterns. They created instruments of consciousness, devices that could attune human awareness to the deeper rhythms governing existence itself. The acoustic properties, electromagnetic signatures, and mathematical relationships built into their monuments suggest technologies that operated through resonance rather than brute force, harnessing natural energies through harmony rather than domination. This approach to technology implies philosophical frameworks that differed fundamentally from our current paradigms. Rather than seeing nature as something to be conquered and exploited, these cultures appears to have developed methods for working within natural systems, amplifying and directing forces that already existed rather than creating artificial substitutes. Their achievements suggest that advanced civilization need not depend on the kind of resource extraction and environmental manipulation that characterizes our modern world. The global distribution of their installations reveals coordination that transcended local cultural boundaries and operated according to planetary rather than tribal perspectives. Monument networks spanning continents suggest that these cultures understood Earth as a single integrated system and designed their technologies to work within that larger context. The mathematical relationships connecting sites across vast distances indicate that they possess not just local knowledge, but global awareness that informed their construction programs. The astronomical knowledge embedded in their monuments demonstrates observational capabilities sustained across many generations and transmitted through educational systems that preserved accuracy across millennia. This wasn't casual stargazing, but systematic science that required institutional support and formal methodologies for recording and analyzing celestial phenomena. The precision of their astronomical alignment suggests that they possessed not just observational tools, but theoretical frameworks for understanding cosmic mechanics that anticipated modern astrophysics by thousands of years. The biological evidence preserved at these sites reveals agricultural and ecological management practices that achieve sustainable productivity without depleting natural systems. Rather than imposing artificial agricultural systems on natural landscapes, they appear to have developed methods for enhancing natural productivity through selective cultivation and ecosystem management that worked with rather than against ecological processes. Their achievements in plant breeding and ecosystem design suggest understanding of biological systems that approached modern ecological science. The metallurgical evidence demonstrates manufacturing capabilities that produce materials with properties exceeding many contemporary substances. Rather than relying on brute force industrial processes, they appear to have developed techniques for manipulating material properties at fundamental levels, creating alloys and composites that achieve superior performance through sophisticated understanding of atomic and molecular structures. Their manufacturing methods suggest approaches to material science that anticipated modern nanotechnology. The energy management systems evidenced at their installations reveal understanding of electromagnetic phenomena that enabled them to generate, store, and transmit power across continental distances, without the kind of centralized infrastructure that characterizes modern electrical systems. Their technologies appear to have operated through distributed networks that harnessed natural electromagnetic fields and enhanced them through geometric amplification and resonant coupling. This approach to energy management suggests paradigms that could revolutionize contemporary approaches to power generation and distribution. The water management systems discovered at sites across both regions demonstrate hydraulic engineering that achieved maximum efficiency with minimal environmental impact. Rather than imposing artificial drainage and irrigation systems on natural watersheds, they developed methods for enhancing natural water flows and storage that worked within existing hydrological patterns while optimizing distribution for human needs. Their hydraulic technologies suggest approaches to water management that could address contemporary challenges related to drought, flooding, and water scarcity. The communication systems evidenced through acoustic analysis of their monuments reveal capabilities for transmitting information across vast distances without artificial relay systems or energy inputs beyond those provided by the installations themselves. Through precise geometric relationships and material selection, they created networks that could propagate specific frequencies through solid rock and ocean water, enabling coordination across continental distances. Their communication technologies suggest paradigms that could transform contemporary approaches to information transmission and network design. The preservation of organic materials in both Arctic and Pacific environments has enabled direct analysis of their manufacturing techniques and revealed production methods that achieve superior performance through sophisticated understanding of natural material properties. Rather than relying on synthetic substitutes for natural materials, they developed techniques for enhancing the properties of organic substances through treatments and processing methods that anticipated modern biochemistry and material science. The mathematical sophistication evidenced in their monument networks reveals understanding of geometric and numerical relationships that anticipated developments in pure mathematics by thousands of years. Their applications of advanced mathematical concepts to practical engineering problems suggest educational systems that maintained high levels of mathematical literacy across their populations and transmitted complex theoretical knowledge through practical applications embedded in their built environment. The whispers that began our journey through these frozen and submerged realms now fade into silence, but their echoes remain. From the Arctic shores where Hyperborea may have flourished to the Pacific depths that once supported civilizations beyond our current understanding, we have traced fragments of human achievement that stretch far deeper into prehistory than conventional wisdom dares acknowledge. The evidence speaks not of primitive ancestors struggling against nature, but of sophisticated cultures that possess knowledge we are only beginning to rediscover. Perhaps the greatest revelation is not that these civilizations existed, but that they understood something we have forgotten. They built not monuments to ego or power, but libraries encoded in stone, preserving knowledge through catastrophes that erased everything else. Their technologies operated through harmony rather than domination, working with planetary forces rather than against them. In their mathematical precision, astronomical alignments, and resonant architectures, we glimpse approaches to science and civilization that transcended the limitations we accept as inevitable. The cycles revealed through our investigation remind us that we are neither the first nor the last to walk this path of discovery and achievement. The fragments scattered across our planet whisper of possibilities that extend far beyond our current paradigms, suggesting that human potential itself may be far greater than we dare imagine. In the end, the search for Hyperborea and Mu becomes a search for ourselves, for the dormant capabilities that lie waiting within our species, ready to awaken when we remember how to listen to the ancient songs encoded in stone and star.